I didn't even push the button, it just did it. Anyway, so this is the Phi Beta Sigma initiation ritual. Pre-initiation preparations. The initiation court and ceremony should and must be one event of total solemnity, beauty, and purpose. For in it, the investitude of Sigmadan will be bestowed on future brothers. The organized meeting of duress, physical and mental, are now over. My God, this is the meeting when the soul, the being and complete entity of Sigma, along with its secrets, will be infused with new brothers. The court, therefore, must have the atmosphere of dignity and peace and great pride. Such an attitude must be borne by all brothers participating in the initiation ceremony. This is black ball. Black ball is the method by which any brother can disprove of a candidate being made into Sigmadan. Jesus. Anyway, it can be done by any against vote or cast an object against a person to whom the negative attitude is directed. It takes 3 black balls to deny a candidate membership into Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. This must be accomplished by either an open or secret ballot. Because of its nature, the black ball must cast prior to the initiation ceremony. Since the acts and words of the ceremony are a secret, the casting of the black ball should be done before the probation period held or final week, if possible, but the last time for casting the black ball is during the meeting of the chapter immediately preceding the initiation. The candidate, thus black ball, is notified and removed from the line. Dang, I didn't. Okay. Due to the extreme seriousness of this act, the black ball is not cast for incidental, spurious, or petty reasons. Reasoning here is based on the fact that the pledge must in some way influence the chapter of the man pledging, and through character flaws may have existed in the past. These are no reasons to assume such still is the case without direct knowledge of the same. How, if it is known a candidate is unworthy, one must bring this to the attention of the fraternity at the earliest possible convenient time, and action be taken accordingly. Time of court. At the time of the initiation, the chapter meets in the usual manner, and when the time arrives for the initiation, the meeting dissolves into the initiation court. This is done by the chapter president announcing that the hour at the beginning of the initiation has arrived. Arrangement of court. Physical necessities. The initiation court fundamentally requires 2 rooms, though more can be utilized for different arrangements of the initiation acts. However, one room must be reserved for the initiation court proper, and the other for an anteroom. A hallway may do for the latter, but if that is secluded. If one room is available, then it must be arranged so that the activities may take place. And then it says placement of the officers of the court. The Chief Justice and the Associate Justice shall be seated around the altar table. The Justice shall wear caps and crowns. The scribe and the chaplain shall be seated at the table to the right or left of the altar. No altars, guys, unless it's the altar of God. The sergeant at arms shall guard the door. The members shall be seated in such a way as to leave passageway from the door to the altar. The light shall be turned low, 3 lighted white candles being placed on the altar. Also, other witchcraft things like Santeria. Oh Lord, what's the word? It's I can't say it properly. Hold on. Well, I guess I did say it right. Santeria, which is also like mixed with Yoruba culture as well as Roman Roman Catholicism also uses candles to do spells and worship deities. So that's why the candles are white. A lot of people use different candles for different types of witchcraft. And if you also look in the store, if you look on usually the aisles where they sell idols or they sell candles, you'll see those candles and they have like white ones, blue ones, red ones. Each colors is different things. Anyway, initiation ceremony. Chief Justice ending the regular meeting. The hour for the beginning of the initiation has arrived, and the officers will take their proper stations and be ready to perform the solemn duties of the court. The regular meeting dissolves and the court is arranged. Chief Justice, in accordance with the Constitution of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by this body, I declare the court open for initiation. Also, I want to point out that if you see where it says the virtue of the authority vested in me by this body, their authority comes by this fraternity. There's no power of God. There's no power of the Holy Spirit. Their power is only by this deity, which is Athena. And I'm sorry, it's not the Athena lady. It's the Basest deity person that looks like a cat. Anyway, excuse me, hold on. Alright, so yeah, Zeta is with the Baset people, lady thingy, deity, and then Phi Beta Sigma is with Athena. So I wasn't technically wrong. Anyway, as well as is with Horse, as well as mentioned in the chapter lines and stuff like that. Excuse me, I needed my chair up a little bit. Alright. And then it says, Chief Justice, in accordance with the Constitution of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the body, I declare the court open for initiation, which was said. I explained about we get our authority from Christ, not from the body of the Zetas and the Phi Beta Sigma. It says, during this time, the candidates in the charge of an assistant deputy or assistant deputies have both dressed in the following manner: shirt open, trousers rolled up to the knees, blindfolded. Scribes assign and address the court in the following manner: most honorable judge, most worthy officers and members of the court, the following named persons have been duly pledged and placed on probation by our chapter and having met all other requirements, are waiting in the anteroom to be received into the mysteries of our fraternity. Chief Justice speaking, the deputy bring the candidates forward. The deputy retires to the after room and aids by his assistants brings the candidates before the room. The room shall be partly dark, and the fraternity hymn sung softly. The hymns that we are to be called to sing and participate in as Christians are Christian hymns, not fraternity hymns. Chief Justice to the candidates, cometh thou here of thy own free will, and according to be initiated into the mysteries and secrets of this fraternity. Deputy telling the candidates to answer, say I do. Candidates answer I do. It says, Chief Justice to the candidates, are you willing to take upon yourself the responsibilities, obligations, and trust of this fraternity and to be obedient to its laws and regulation? Again, when we are taking any oath, it should only be to Christ, and Christ being obedient to Christ's laws and obligations, because when you're doing that, you're walking a narrow path with Christ, but when you're walking with a wide path, then you have other things that you're partnered with that are not Christ, right? It says deputy telling the candidates to answer, say I am. Candidates are now loud. Oh my lord. Candidates are now led quietly to the inferno. We don't want to be involved with anything that says inferno. Inferno, examination, deputy, seekers of brethren, scholarship, and service. You have been brought to this historic spot of your own free will. Your moral stability, your fidelity must be tested, and previous to the journey through, oh Lord. Anyway, previous to the journey through Death Valley and across the Dead Sea, your body must be subject to a thorough examination by Dr. Luke. Doctor takes charge of these seekers. This is just mockery of Moses. It says each candidate is precursed in a soul. See, this is what this word is that I don't know how to say. It says auscultated, AUSCULATED. That means, let's look it up right now because I don't know. It's here. Auscultated. It means listening to the internal sounds of the body. So they're using a stethoscope, basically. Just say that. Anyway. The examiner must use any reasonable method to take it exciting and impressive, but to avoid pain and damage. Again, this is it's saying that it's avoiding pain and damage, but do we really believe that? I don't. Anyway, infernal, crossing the Dead Sea. The candidates are taken one at a time into the place where the inferno has been prepared. The test is started by the deputy of the assistant taking the candidates by the arm and gently assisting him on his journey, walking him around the inferno as though do nothing will happen to him. In a calm, oh my lord, in a conversational tone. This is mockery of Daniel in the lion's den. Well, not lion's den, I'm sorry. This is mockery of the three men inside of the inferno where Jesus shows up and the Abednego. I don't know how to say their names, so I'm gonna look it up and they're gonna tell you how to say their names. It was Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But again, it's actually funny because that's like the name that they got renamed as. Anyway, because they were under a different law at that time. And they were like, yeah, your name's not John, it's Abednego. Anyway. Alright. So alright. It says deputy duty. Anyway, deputy. It was a balmy, clear evening when a weary Greek traveler such as you started on a journey across the Dead Sea. The crescent of the moon, symbolic of the Crescent Club of which you have been a member during the journey. During the past months, deputy stops walking here was hanging lazily in the eastern sky. The wearing Greek stopped to contemplate the task before him. Now the deputy becomes harsh and sarcastic. All dogs that have traveled across the sea have chosen what breed of dog they desire to be while on this journey. What breed of dog are you? It says here the candidate is forced to name the breed of dog he cares to be. When the candidate states his decision, deputy loudly, oh, this is a whatever breed the candidate stated. Other members mocked the candidate, repeating the kind of dog named. Deputy, all right, dog. No dog walks on his highlands across the Dead Sea. Get on your all fours and start barking like a dog you have chosen to be. The candidate gets down on hands and knees and is led crawling around the inferno, barking. This is a mockery of God, but it's a mockery of you guys too. Anyway, candidate gets down on hands and knees and led crawling around the inferno, barking as he goes. Meantime, the members are stationed at intervals, and as the dog, it says like dog, like marks, like quotation marks. Dog passes, they make loud sounds with belts and straps near, but not on the dog's buttocks. So they're hitting you. After dog passes each member, the deputy leads him saying, "Bark, dog." When he has circled the room once, the dog is stopped. Remember, it says deputy, remember, dog, you don't have to worry about drowning in the Dead Sea because its water contains so much salt, and the specific gravity is that which you can't be submerged through the half of your body. Let's go, dog, we must travel, bark, dog. So they're making a whole story, another separate story out of what happened when Moses and them passed through on dry ground. The dog is led crawling around the inferno again. Deputy, stand up, dog. You have now crossed the Dead Sea. Inferno, wandering in Death Valley. Oh, bro. Sorry. You're not a bro. You might be a woman too. But anyway, no. My theory is that this is going to be mocking the journey of the Israelites, but we're going to read it. Deputy, seekers, you are now about to descend into the valley of death. You must view the bones of those who are unfit to see the light. The candidates are carried into a room in which is a table with human bones on it. Chairs, tin cans, etc. should be scattered around the floor in the path of the candidates. The candidates are led around the room a few times, making noises. In the meantime, kneel the candidates before the table. A skull should be on the table, so placed that the candidates can see that the blindfolds are lifted. A few seconds, the room shall be lighted with the dim red light. Be sure that the candidates see no one when the blindfolds are lifted. Deputy, behind the skull, seekers, you are about to behold the bones of the unfit. They knew not the mentioning of brotherhood. A poor, wearily persecuted but worthy brother was in need of assistance, but these dogs passed him by. He was thirsty and had neither clothes nor shoes to wear. He was hungry and cold. And yet these unworthy brothers, being raised not their voices, does such a person deserve to live? Should such a one be called a brother? Would such a man be true to Phi Beta Sigma everywhere? And then it says all brothers. No. Deputy, their bones cry out no. Oh, this is literally hold on. This is mentioned in Ezekiel 37, but it's also because bones crying out is mentioned multiple times in the Bible, as well as where it mentions helping their brother when they needed help and them not helping. This is just them accounting for their acts of service. It's not really, and it's just an outright misinterpretation and just not telling scripture properly. This is using it for something completely different, but making it seem as if it's like a brotherhood or a this is corrupt, bro. I'm saying bro, I'm so sorry, but this is corrupt. This is very corrupt. This is not scripture. This is not godly. Anyway, my God. Anyway, the candidates answer, and then it says duty. Then behold, 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 let not your bones lie on this table. When the deputy cries, behold, the blindfold should be lifted for a few seconds. Deputy test for blood. Are you willing to give a dram of your blood for a serological test as well as a loyalty test? For Phi Beta Sigma, your blood and Sigma's blood must be compatible. Dr. Luke performed the operation. During this episode, one draws a dull instrument across the chest of each candidate while at the same time allowing water to trickle down the chest. Deputy, Doctor, the blood in this is cold. Do you think brotherhood can flow in his veins? This is again a mockery of the heart of flesh. And God gives you a new heart. And this is just a mockery of that. You're giving your blood to deities for them to use you. Dr. Luke, it shall be tested. The examiner must go through the process of collecting the blood and treating the room using the necessary word and technique. This is also insanitary. It says deputy drinking the blood. COVID diseases. Anyway, deputy drinking the blood. Seekers, do you drink water? Pause for answer. Tea, coffee, wine, or anything strong as a beverage. In this cup is the blood of the fraternity. Unless you partake of their blood, you are not fit to know them. Drink, you seekers. I've heard people talk about this actually. It says gives the vessels of salt water to the candidates. Seekers, are you willing to give your time, energy, thought? You know, even if you're using distilled water, which is probably why it's salty, that's usually what this is what witches do. They use distilled water to cast spells. Anyway, seekers, you are willing to give your time, energy, thought, and service to Phi Beta Sigma for the uplift of mankind. Candidates are told to answer deputy, then you must eat worms of the earth as a test of service. It says give spaghetti. It's not usually spaghetti. I've seen videos where people talk about it's a mix of like multiple things sometimes. But I think, anyway, we got Infernal, climbing the mountains. Deputy, dog, you have come a long journey and have reached the sacred foothills of Mount Olympus in northeastern Greece. This northeastern. Anyway, northeastern Greece. I'm pretty sure is near where. Hold on. Alright. Where the greater gods were supposed to live under the ruler Zeus. It was in these mountains that one of our founding brothers obtained the bones of an old Greek, brought them back, and they have been ground in bone dust. You have the sacred privilege of now receiving your traditional portion, which makes you a noble Greek of the Sigma clan. Open your mouth. Dog. Candidate is given 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt or substance, bone dust. So when I told you last time in the video about this being about Homer and the Odyssey, they're mentioning it right now. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're saying. Anyway, Inferno, observing the wonders of the mountain. Now each candidate is led to the top of an inclined plane 3 times. Plank of wood upon chair. Also, the fact that they're representing Epsom salts as bone dust. This is making a covenant, a symbolic covenant with dead people from ancient Greek. Anyway, now each candidate is led to the top of an inclined plane 3 times. Plank of wood upon chair or otherwise. This is making fun of the crucifixion, because Jesus carried a plank. He carried a cross. Anyway, each time the candidate is lifted down and carried around the room and then back on the plank, making it appear that he is climbing. One must be careful not to do any bodily harm. Do this about 5 times. Stop at the top, and the Chief Justice shall state, "Now you are about to review the wonders of the mountain. This is the crucifixion. They're making fun of the crucifixion. Fellow every witchcraft, every thing that's going against God is somehow always doing something that is against God and rude to God and rude to the word of the Bible. Anyway, deputy, fellow Greek, with your mind's eye, you are privileged to observe the wonder of Mount Olympus, where Ares, the Greek god of war, resigned. The Titan Prometheus stole fire from heaven and taught men its use. For this is also in Enoch. Anyway, this is literally what the Nephilim taught people in Enoch. This is literally from the Bible, you guys. Because I just started studying the other chapters of the Bible. They literally did this. The Nephilim taught the men. Anyway, the angels that end up having Nephilims with the human women taught the women how to use fire. This is in the Bible. Demons know the Bible, you guys. Anyway, for which act Zeus punished him by chaining him to the very rock of which you stand. But Sigma has outlawed the warring Greeks and is now under the protection of Pallas Athena, the god of wisdom, arts, and industries. Are you willing to give your time, energy, thought, and service to the Phi Beta Sigma? What is your answer? Did I not tell you guys that they're working with Athena? That is Athena, and it says it in there. And you guys are telling me that you didn't know and that I'm a liar and saying all this other stuff. Anyway, candidate answers yes or no. Each candidate, or that I'm insane. Anyway, each candidate is then unblindfolded when the candidate views Phi Beta Sigma in bright letters, either reflected through a lighted book or a banner or another lighted fraternity paraphernalia. The blindfold is then replaced. Dr. Luke, take these seekers, Phi Beta Sigmas, all hum the fraternity hymn, again with the hymns. The assistant deputies and Dr. Luke take place. Piece of ice or dull instrument and go through the fabric of carving Phi Beta Sigma on the breast of each of the candidates. I'm gonna stop here. Anyway, and then we're gonna keep going on the next one. This is part 1 though.